dropping bombs on their head.
When do you expect the word?
If I don't like it, if they don't behave, we'll go right back to dropping bombs right smack in the middle of their head. Okay? Because they've misbehaved.
Wait, did you just hear what he said on international television? He just completely bypassed standard diplomacy and said the quiet part out loud to the entire world. Stop scrolling because what happens next is wild.
Issue is $3.7 million that went into the coffers of the REP project, which is a Jennifer Newsom project. By the way, I full disclosure, served on a board with her.
But do you mind pausing? Because we don't have confirmation, and I do not know if this is true right now because we literally are not hearing anything. I don't want to be talking about Newsom's wife as though she has committed crimes when we have not heard.
Look at her face the exact millisecond the guest mentions the $3.7 million. The anchor goes into absolute meltdown mode, right? She literally cuts off the segment in real time. Notice how fast she throws her hands up to signal the control room. It is absolute sheer panic. You rarely ever see a live broadcast kill a topic this abruptly unless somebody hit a nerve they were strictly told not to touch. Why the sudden desperation to protect Gavin Newsom's wife from public records? It's not a conspiracy theory. The numbers are sitting right there on paper. But watching the media act as an unpaid defense team and scramble to put the lid back on the jar is incredibly telling. They are terrified of what happens if you actually look at the receipts. Did you catch how her voice even cracked?
A deal that was going to give them legally a nuclear weapon. And if that happened, Israel would have been blown away. And in all fairness to Bibi Netanyahu, who happens to be a good man, gets a little excited sometimes. But he happens to be a very good man. We've had an amazing partnership. He's been an amazing prime minister. We have a little dispute over Lebanon. I say, you can do a little softer touch, Bibi. You don't have to knock down a building every time somebody walks into it that's from Hezbollah.
Hold up, did you catch that pivot? He is talking about one of America's tightest global allies, Benjamin Netanyahu, and he actually drops the line about knocking down a building. Most politicians would read a highly sanitized, focus group tested statement from a teleprompter, but he is out here giving military feedback like he's critiquing a contractor remodeling a kitchen. Notice the body language. He's extremely relaxed, leaning into the mic, completely unapologetic about setting boundaries even with friends. It's wild because he's simultaneously praising him as a great guy while totally undercutting his military tactics in Lebanon. It's an insane power move. He's essentially telling the entire international community that nobody gets a blank check, not even his closest strategic partners. Watch how the reporters in the room don't even know how to respond to that level of raw candor.
To doubt the narrative that's being offered by Gavin Newsom, which is that he is being specifically targeted by Donald Trump for political retribution. It does not appear that that's what's happening here. First of all, very importantly, as Paula said, the reporting is that this investigation did not initiate from Donald Trump or even from prosecutors in D.C. So not from Pam Bondi when she was AG, not from Todd Blanche. Rather, it arose organically from the U.S. Attorney's Office out in the Eastern District of California based on a whistleblower complaint, reportedly, which is a normal way that cases start. And second of all, if they are, in fact, investigating people around Gavin Newsom, as Paula just reported, then sure, you would expect feds to be knocking on doors and asking questions of people around Gavin Newsom. So I think the narrative that he offered up today is self-serving and a bit overly simplistic given the actual facts as we know.
Did you ever think you would see the day when CNN completely pulls the rug out from under Gavin Newsom? Watch the anchor's body language. They are systematically destroying his entire political retribution narrative on live television. They aren't just doubting him, they are bringing the receipts and pointing out that the probe started organically out of California. It is a massive shift in the media landscape. Usually, he gets the absolute golden boy treatment, right? But here, they are calling his excuse self-serving and simplistic. When you have lost the legacy network anchors who usually cover for you, you know the internal polling must be absolutely disastrous. They are actively distancing themselves from his political sinking ship. Pay attention to how carefully the reporter phrases the fact that federal agents knocking on doors is totally normal. It's brutal.
Federal agents have knocked on the doors of family, friends, and former employees. Not because they found a crime, because they're simply trying to find one. You can investigate me. You can harass me. Put my name on every and any enemies list you have, but leave my wife and family out of your personal vendetta.
Wait, look closely at his posture here. He is sweating. Newsom is playing the ultimate victim card, trying to completely deflect an active federal investigation by acting like this is a personal vendetta against his family. But here is the kicker nobody is talking about. This investigation didn't even start under a rival administration. This started back in 2024. He is up there putting on an absolute masterclass in political theater, hoping you won't actually look into the Representation Project. Did you see his eyes darting away from the cameras? That is the look of a guy who realizes the one-party shield in California might finally be cracking. He's trying to generate sympathy, but when your own state's ethics commission is already slapping you with massive fines for unreported payments, the outrage act falls incredibly flat. Incredible to watch him scramble.
The text of the agreement now final, or are you still?
No, it's not final. It's a memorandum of understanding, and if I don't like it, we'll go back to shooting at him, dropping bombs.
So earlier we saw the explosion, but watch the setup. Before he even drops the hammer, look at how he frames the entire negotiation. The reporter asks if the text is final, and he just casually dismisses the whole premise. No, it's a memorandum. He completely strips away the diplomatic red tape. He doesn't want an agreement just to have a piece of paper. He wants total leverage. What is crazy here is the absolute lack of hesitation. You see other world leaders sweat over these details, but he is treating a global nuclear negotiation like a real estate deal in Manhattan. He's laying the groundwork, establishing dominance, and letting Iran know that the United States isn't begging for a signature. He keeps the threat right there on the table before the appetizers even arrive. Classic alpha move.
I predicted just about everything that has happened with this administration. So I am not surprised that he may be using the Department of Justice to go after a political enemy in the current governor of California. You're going to ask me questions about the current president. I'm going to be candid. What is essentially the most callous, corrupt, and incompetent presidential administration America's ever experienced.
Okay, you really need to read between the lines on this one. She is out here publicly attacking the current administration, calling them the most corrupt in history. But notice what she is actually doing. She is using Newsom's massive legal headaches to completely clear her own path for 2028. She doesn't defend Gavin at all, not even a little bit. She completely sidesteps it to launch her own political attacks. This is high-level political chess. They have been massive rivals in California politics for decades, and right now she is sitting back watching him completely implode while she tries to look like the only clean candidate left standing. Watch her facial expressions. She is practically enjoying this. She is playing both sides of the fence brilliantly. It is absolutely ruthless, and honestly, you have to respect the cold calculation.
But he's touching it. We also have cameras. That's what Space Force is. We have the greatest military in the world, by the way. But I'm proud of Space Force because I started it. We have Space Force cameras on every single door, well, there are no doors. They've been pretty well shattered, but every area of that. If somebody walks in and he's got a badge with his name on it, like Mohammed something, which is about a 50-50 guess, Mohammed something, they can tell the name, they can give you a serial number, we can see things you wouldn't believe the quality of the...
Wait, rewind and listen to exactly what he says about Space Force. He casually mentions they have cameras on every single door and then instantly corrects himself to mock the fact that the doors are already blown off. It's an insane flex. He's basically telling adversaries, we can see the name tags on your scientists' chests from orbit. Whether he's exaggerating or not, it's a psychological operation happening right in front of the press corps. He throws in the joke about the guy named Mohammed something just to completely disrespect their security apparatus. Most presidents would give a boring brief about satellite reconnaissance, but he turns it into a stand-up routine that simultaneously terrifies the other side. Look at how he controls the room's energy. He wants total compliance, and he's using absolute mockery to guarantee they know we are watching.
Hard to imagine that a guy who's been fantasizing about running for president as long as Newsom has would be reckless enough to not have crossed every T, dotted every I, particularly knowing that Donald Trump weaponizes his government against his enemies.
You're saying that you find it hard to believe that Gavin Newsom hasn't been or wouldn't have been reckless?
Their taxes are publicly available.
I think.
Look at the absolute denial on this panel. She actually says it's hard to imagine Gavin Newsom being reckless. Are we talking about the same guy? Watch the other panelists' face when she says that. Even they look incredibly skeptical. This is a guy who famously went to a luxury restaurant during lockdown while telling everyone else to stay in their basements. Reckless is literally his brand. But this shows exactly how deep the bubble goes. They are trying so hard to craft a narrative that he is a meticulous, careful operator who crossed every T and dotted every I. It is pure fantasy. You can literally hear the cognitive dissonance happening in real time. They are desperately trying to protect the idea of him running for president, completely ignoring the fact that his personal financial track record is an absolute disaster.
Better off than they were before the hostilities began, and that should not be the consequence of war. When you lose a war, I mean, think about it, Sandra. We went into Iran and rescued a downed pilot. We had total control over that country. We were winning militarily and economically. And when you are in that position, you negotiate from strength. You don't give people money. You don't give them access. What are they going to do with the money, Sandra? I mean, you've been following this issue for a long time, despite your youthful appearance. You know that Iran is going to use this for nefarious purposes. We all know that. The regime has not changed.
Pay close attention to Trey Gowdy's logic here. He is pointing out the absolute insanity of handing a massive economic lifeline to a regime while you are supposedly still negotiating. Notice his frustration. He's arguing from a position of basic common sense. You don't surrender your leverage before the ink is dry. When you are winning economically and militarily, you don't suddenly let the other side cash out. Look at the host's reaction. She knows he is dead right. He asks a critical question. What are they going to do with that money? We all know it's going straight back into funding hostile operations. This isn't just standard political debate. This is a fundamental warning about how disastrous it is to stabilize an adversary's economy just to get cheaper oil in the short term. The regime hasn't changed at all. The political landscape is fracturing in real time. Hit subscribe if you want to keep seeing what they don't want you to look at. I'll see you in the next one.